So welcome in Advanced Java Debugging workshop. I just would like to remind you that if you go out or in, be careful that there is some noise from that can disturb others. So the workshop will be led by Andrej Podhradský. So welcome.
Okay, hello. My name is Andrej Podhradský, and I have been working at Red Hat for 4 years as a quality engineer, and my responsibility is for testing integration tools for JBDS, which is based on Eclipse IDE. And in my job, I spend lots of time by debugging the code. And during my career, I noticed that many people do not use their IDE as effectively as possible. And that's why I decided to make such a workshop for debugging the Java code. So, what is debugging? Debugging, simply said, it is a process of finding and fixing bugs. Here is a small example. There is a null pointer exception at line number 3, and please take your time to have a look at the code. It's quite simple, and there is null pointer exception which can be caused by null in user or in its nickname. Number 3. So what's the simplest way how to debug code like this? Many people usually put the system out print line to the existing code just to see whether user is null or whether its nickname is null. I'm not saying that this approach is bad, but I think that there are two disadvantages. First, you are messing the existing code. And the second, this is not always possible, especially if you are using third-party libraries. You can't change the existing code. Okay, so before we move on, I would like to ask you for checking whether you have all requirements. If you want to go together with me, you will need JDK, which is obvious. And you will also need Apache Maven. Maven is a building tool, and if you don't know it, don't be afraid. Don't worry, we will use just 2 simple commands. And finally, we will need Eclipse IDE for Java or JavaEE developers. And during this workshop, we will use Framebook application, which is a very simple application, and it's not necessary to get the whole logic of this application. It is available on my GitHub, as well as all these slides together with the application. So everyone who wants to go with me in this workshop, please tell me whether you have some technical issues, for example with Java or with Maven or with Eclipse IDE.
Is it okay to go with Andrej or?
No, this workshop is for Eclipse IDE because I use Eclipse IDE as my primary development environment. But I bet that almost all such features will be available in other better IDEs. And if not, you have to choose other IDE. So take your time, and if you are configuring Maven, I would like to mention that you need to set Java home environment. Does anyone need more time? Okay, if not, so please go to the GitHub And if you are familiar with Git, you can clone the project, or you can download the zip file. So let's have a look. There is tab releases, and here is a source code zip or tar.gz. It's up to you. So you can download it. Once you unzip this zip file, oops, sorry. It looks like there is friend book and friend book with all fixes and slides for this presentation. So change your directory to friend book and run the first Maven command, Maven clean verify. This will download all dependencies needed for this workshop. It will build the application and it will run the tests. You can see there are some failures and errors which we will fix during this workshop. Okay, if you are done, I would like to say something about this cool application. It's really simple. Friendbook is a collection of users, of registered users, which can be loaded from a text file, or you can save them to a text file. Each user can ask for a friendship other user, and the other user can confirm this friendship or reject the friendship. As I said before, it's not necessary to understand the logic of this application, because I will try to keep this workshop as simple as possible. Yes, of course. Yeah, it's on the GitHub. Here is the link, github.com/apodhradconf 2016. You can clone this repository, or you can download a zip file. So let's start your Eclipse IDE. I would like to mention, if you have any connection problems, I can give you the needed files on USB stick. So start your Eclipse IDE. When you are starting Eclipse IDE for the first time, it will ask you for selecting a workspace. So select any folder, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can close this welcome screen. Select Java perspective. Yeah, cool. If you have already started this IDE, import our project. It is a typical Maven project, nothing special. Just here is Package Explorer. So please invoke context menu and import. Since it is a Maven project, type Maven. Select existing Maven project, and using browse button, navigate to the project. This you should see pom.xml file, which is the cornerstone of Maven, and press finish. So if you have imported the project, let's have a look what is it in it. There are 3 Java classes, user, friend book, and friend book exception. Nothing more. We can see what are test classes. There are only 2 test classes, user test here and friend book test. There is also a 3rd class which is a test rule, but we will use it later in this workshop. So select user test, invoke context menu, run as JUnit test. We can see that there are 4 tests and all tests pass, which is good. Do the same for the friend book test. And now we can see that there are some failures and errors. Before we start fixing these problems, these issues, I would like to say something about breakpoints, which is the cornerstone of debugging process. It is a place where the code execution will pause. For example, open friend book test and here invoke context menu and select show line numbers. Cool. And I will increase the size of the text. Can you see it? Or should I increase it? Okay, there are no complaints. So I can continue. For example, this looks good. For example, we want to stop the code execution at line number 90. So put a breakpoint just by double clicking, and let's put another breakpoint, for example at line 94, and let's debug it. Here is for executing programs in debug mode, and here are executing the programs without debugging mode. So we will use the debugging mode. So select this friend book test. If you are running an application in debug mode for the first time, Eclipse asks you for switching to a debug perspective, which is good, and we will switch to the debug perspective. Here we can see that the code execution pauses at line number 90. Another very important view is variables view. Here we can see all related variables, and moving between breakpoints is very easy. The main button is resume. Here, resume button. So if you select the resume button, you will go to the next breakpoint, and you can see the code pauses at line number 94. Here in variables view we can see all users and all its attributes. And here I would like to mention very important view, which is debug view, which is a stack trace. You can see here all visited methods during the debugging process. There is a terminate button, so I think that's very meaningful. And here are 3 types of stepping. I usually use step over. So let's try it. Step over. You will go line by line in the code. There is a step into. So go to line, for example, number 97. And when you press step into, you will go to the find user method. So try it. And here you are in the method find user. If you press step return, it means that the rest of the code will be executed, and the code execution will be paused in the method from which you stepped in. So here, and you can see that we are back in line number 97. Okay, and we can terminate. So I showed you very basic working with Java debugging in Eclipse IDE, where you can put a breakpoint on a line with code, on an attribute, or on a method, or on a class. I won't show you such situation. This will be your homework. And you can also put a breakpoint on an exception, and we will also I will also show you such situation. I showed you variables view, where you can watch all related variables, and even you can change the value of any variable here. So let's go to fix some tests. For example, this null pointer exception here we have. So we will go to fix find user test. Here, just double click on the first line. Okay, nothing happens. So let's try to another one. And we are here where the null pointer exception happens. So put a breakpoint to line number 52. Remove the old breakpoints, and we want to run only one test. So here again show debug configurations, and here by button search specify find user test, apply, and debug. So the code execution is suspended, and we can watch the user. User is not null, nor its nickname. So go to the next breakpoint, again, and now here we can see that the nickname is null. So this is the place where null pointer exception is from. And we can select which one is it. It is Mike, funny. We can go back and select the previous frame. And here we can see that we tried to register a user whose nickname is null. Okay, we can terminate this execution. The problem here was that we were stepping to next breakpoint again and again and again, and this is not very useful, and it is very time consuming and annoying as well. That's why we have to specify exactly where we want to suspend the code execution. For this purpose, we can use, for example, setting a breakpoint on a null pointer exception. Okay, so delete all breakpoints, and here add Java exception breakpoint. You can specify, in our case, null pointer exception. Select and start the debugging process again. Now we can see that here is a user exactly with name null, and I bet it is our problematic Mike Funny. Yes. Okay, this is very useful, but sometimes the place where we want to suspend our code execution is a little bit complicated. So here we can also specify our own condition. So delete this one, and let's put the breakpoint as in the previous example. And here it is hidden now, but when you double click on breakpoints view, you can see checkbox conditional. Here you must find the arrow, and now you can specify your own condition. For example, if user null, or if user
Do you have a code completion in that?
Sorry?
Do you have a code completion in that?
Yes, of course.
I mean, you wrote return from scratch and user as well, so that's why I was wondering.
From scratch.
Yes, you wrote it on the keyboard, but
Yeah.
I use code completion all the time, so that's why I was wondering, but something.
Yes, of course. I use code completion. Yeah, thanks for your point. And yes, you can use code completion everywhere in Eclipse.
I wouldn't be so sure about that. It is Eclipse.
Okay. Now, here, so you can specify any logic for your condition, and press Ctrl S. You have to save, and when you start again, you can see that the code.
How do you open that window for specifying a condition?
Yes. You can double click on this breakpoints view, and here is a conditional, but here is an arrow, and you have to find this arrow. Yeah, this is, I'm not sure whether it is bug, but it's not very user friendly. I agree.
I don't have conditional there. I think I have something over Eclipse. You know why?
Can I have a look at it?
Yeah, sure.
I'm trying to type into this space. Yeah, sorry. You can't specify your own condition on exceptional breakpoint or breakpoint on attribute. You can specify the breakpoint only if it is set on a line with code. And in your case, you have a null pointer exception breakpoint. So please remove it and set a breakpoint on friend book class on line number 52. Then you can see, and you are allowed to specify the condition. Okay, we can terminate it. And if you, for example, specify a breakpoint on an attribute, you can specify whether you want to suspend the code on any access of the attribute or on any modification of the attribute. Very similar it is in a breakpoint specified on a method. I will show you. And of course you can, I'm sorry, I was wrong when I said you can't specify your own condition on a method breakpoint. But moreover, you can specify breakpoint on every entry of the method or every exit of the method. So here is a small summary that you can. It is very important to define when you want to or where you want to stop the code execution, and it depends on your experiences and on your intuition, of course. Yeah, I have already mentioned all such situations, and now I will show you some more important things which usually people don't know about debugging, and it is very important to see what you really want to see, what will help you to find where is the bug and how to fix it. For example, I will use this breakpoint on line number 52. Check whether this is the only one breakpoint. Run the execution. Once the code is suspended, you can select user, invoke context menu, and there is an option display. You can see this is exactly what you see in variables view. It is calling a method of toString for the user. Or you can select more. You can select get nickname, select display. Well, now you can see that it's Be Happy, which is a nickname for Paul Happy. You can select the whole condition as well and select display. And now you can see the result, which is false. And you can do this for any part of the code. You can also specify the whole code. For example, here is display. Oh, okay, sorry. You must be on line number 21, then you can specify more. Here I would like to show you also how to improve the variables view. So I will maximize it, and here we can see user and its nickname. For example, I want to see also users name and surname, for example. So select here on the right side, user, invoke context menu, and here is an option called new detail formatter. You can specify it, and here we want to get name plus get surname and also get nickname. The only one disadvantage of this is that there is no code checker. So for example, it doesn't warn me that there is missing plus. But I think that we can leave it. Press OK. And now we can see exactly what we wanted. Paul happy is happy. So let's fix our test. We found out that the problem was this null pointer. So let's set funny. Can terminate it. Oh, and one more thing, which is quite cool. And it is a display view, but this view is hidden, but it's very useful. So please window, show view, and here is display. And here in display you can type any code you want. For example, I want to see, we can use our favorite system, our print line, and we can print get nickname. For example, to uppercase. This is just for example. It doesn't matter what then you select the code, and here is a button, execute the selected text, and it is. You are still suspended in the code execution, but you can invoke and execute any method you wish. Of course, it must be related to the context where you are.
You would like to evoke a synchronized method, which is already logged by other thread?
I didn't try it. To be honest, I usually don't debug multi-threaded applications, and I'm not sure.
But it will show block because it's normally run in the context of the thread, the current thread, of the suspended thread. So it should normally block.
Yeah.
And you would have a deadlock.
Yeah, I know that there is an option for suspending any thread. And here, view collapse. Here we have two threads. And when you select some thread, here is a button, suspend. But I'm not very familiar with this. So this is quite cool, and we can sum it up.
Can I have a question related to display view? Is there any other way to view?
What kind of view?
This one, display view.
Yeah.
Is there
Yes.
any other way to view results except the system out print line?
Yes.
Just return object and see what's there.
There is an option. Oh, I'm not in debug. Okay, display. select display result. Awesome. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. No, it's okay. So there is an option. There are two options. One, displaying result in the display view. You can see exactly the string and its value, or you can execute, for example, the code with system out print line. You can put any loop or any code you want. Something's wrong. Okay, so I showed you how you can specify detail formatters to view what you want to see in variables view, how to display and watch parts of the code, how to execute your own code to see some more information. And I forgot on one issue. I will show you in a minute. So let's see what other tests must be fixed. Is run configurations and delete test method, apply run. Now here is remove test failure. So something wrong here. So this method, this test method just check whether removing the user from the collection is working. So we can see that the problem happened on line number 51. So it means that friendbook remove user John Doe is working, but the second user is not working. Okay, have a look at it. Let's put a breakpoint also on line number 46 and start debugging. Oh, remove this breakpoint, sorry, I forgot to remove it. Let's move. Now we are in our test method and the breakpoint. For example, what we want to see. We want to see users. Now, in users, which is a hash set, there are two users. There is Paul Happy and John Doe. So step over. Now we see that John Doe was removed successfully. Step over, over. Paul Happy is still there. Remove it. And he's still there. So something's wrong. Does anyone know what can cause this behavior? Why one user is not removed from the collection?
Equals hash code is not.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. You deserve a gift. Because as a collection for users, I use hash set, and the most important thing in hash set is hash code. But let's check whether the hash code is really changed. For example, We can do it by specifying a formatter. So select the hash set and new detail formatter, and we can use string buffer as a result. And for any object in the set, result append object to string, and we want to see its hash code. And return our result. I think it's okay. So, yes, it should be fine. Press OK. And I have one error. Here, semicolon is missing. Okay, let's start it once again. Friend book and users. Oh, what about something like this? Result append new line. Cool. Now we can see all users with its hash codes. So step over. John Doe was removed successfully, and Paul Happy has hash code which ends with 591. Okay, go still, and now we can see that the hash code was changed, and I suspect that it was caused by method set surname. So let's have a look what's here, and this is the user class, and I'm wondering what's the implementation of a hash code. We can see that the hash code depends on its name, nickname, and surname. But in our application, we require only the nickname, because sometimes you have to allow users to change its name, her name. So fix it. Just remove all lines related to name and surname, and of course when we change equals hash code method, we have to change equals method. So delete also lines related to surname and name in equals method. And we can see whether friend book tests. We can see that all tests passed. Yeah, and I wanted to show you also a logical structure in a variables view. So let's do it once again. I don't have a breakpoint. Yeah, I'm here, and I maximize the variables view. Now here is hash set, and And when we expand users field, there is map, entry set, key set. By default, you are confronted by implementation details, but when we want to watch for some helpful information, it is nice to display this information in another way. So select users and there is button logical structure. And now we can see user and we can watch his attributes. Cool, we can terminate it. Cool. So the next topic is about repeating code and methods. You saw that we had to terminate and run the tests again and again and again, and sometimes this is quite annoying, especially if there are some setting of your testing environment which may take a long time. So for example, I will show you how to repeat the code on a very simple example. Remove breakpoints, and for example, friend book, here register user, and yes, so check whether test method is empty, debug it, and we can see, we can watch the users is empty, so step over, and John Doe is here. And have to repeat this code once again. Here is debug view, and you can select the frame, and here is a magic button called drop to frame. No, 1330.
Workshops are generally double sessions, so if you need to read. This session here will finish at 13:50, and the next one begins at 2 p.m.
Okay, so I will continue. There is a magic button, drop to frame. Oops. And you can jump again to this method. And you can go step over, see the users. There is one user again. There is one user because we use hash set. But if you use another implementation of our collection, for example, array list, let's change it. Array list, you can see that the users will be accumulated. Step over and jump. Step over, and now we can see that we have two John Does. Here I would like to mention that you are not going back, you are just repeating the code, so which means that all variables which were modified, they remain modified. So you have to take it into account. And in general, you can jump to any frame listed debug view. For example, into this you cannot. So in general, you can jump into any frame except methods which are native methods and methods which are called directly from such native methods. This is our example because JUnit uses some native methods, and this method directly calls clean friendbook. But there is a very simple workaround, a little bit stupid, but you can try it. Create new method, public void foo, for example, and put the whole code into it. And now call foo. Okay, so try to run it once again. Here we can jump to the register user, and we can also jump to the foo method. I don't know why there is such restriction in Eclipse IDE, but you can do it in such a way. And the same applies also in test methods. But what about if you have about 20 test methods? It's a little bit annoying to create such foo methods for each method. But I usually use a test rule, which is this class. This test rule was introduced in JUnit, and it allows you to add some more functionality to your test methods. Here on line number 15, base is your test method. And by calling base evaluate, the test method is called. And I usually put the system out print line, or it can be any line with code. And I usually put breakpoints at line number 16 and at line number 18, so that I can repeat our test method. So let's put the breakpoints. But this workaround requires changing the code a little bit. You have to register the test rule. But there are only 2 lines of code, which is, I think, okay. Still better than creating new foo methods for 20 times. And let's debug test, for example, our favorite find user test. Oh, and I usually disable the breakpoints in the test rule, because I want to use it only in some specific situations. For example, now I'm in foo method. Okay, go next. Something's wrong. Let's do it once again. My rule 15, 18. Okay, disable it. And friend book test, for example, this one. Now, the code is suspended at line number 50. And we can move on. And if we want to repeat it once again, just enable the breakpoints, go to next. And now we are here in our test rule, and we can jump to it. and run the test method again. Sorry. I put it. One again. Cool. Step over. And let's proceed the test execution to our test rule here, and we can jump again. And we are again in the same method, and we can continue debugging the same method again and again until we find the problem. Cool, so here is a small summary. We can jump back in the stack trace. We cannot jump to native frame or any of its successor. And here is a workaround for JUnit, which I usually use. And the last topic is remote debugging, which is very useful. For example, if you run your test on Jenkins and something wrong has happened on the remote slave, but locally everything seems to be working. So you have to run the application in debug mode. Here is a magic command you have to use, and the most important thing here, you have to specify address, which means that the application is executing in debugging mode and is suspended and waits and are listening on port you specify. So in our example, friend book, we fixed the test, but try to run it, and we still see that there is some problem. Let's have a look. Where's the problem? Friend book, line 72. So find friend book. Okay, delete this. Find friend book. Oh, it's not here. Friend book. And line 72 here. And we will start the Maven test in debug mode from Maven. Have a look at the POM XML file, and here's our magic command. In Maven you have to set it in property called Maven Surefire Debug, and it is specified in profile, and this profile is activated whenever you define property debug port. So let's run our application in debug mode by specifying debug port. I usually use 8001. I think the default one is 5005, but it doesn't matter. It must be port which is not in use. That's all. Start it. And we can see that the code execution suspended and is listening on port 8001. Go back to Eclipse IDE, and here in debug configurations, till this moment we we used only JUnit configurations, but here is also remote Java application. So create a new launch. Here is a button for it. And let's call it remote friendbook test. The project is friendbook, connection type is OK. Here you can specify the host. If it is on some Windows slave, we will just specify the host, and our port is A001. Also check allow termination of remote VM. I think this is quite meaningful. Apply and debug. Now we see that here we can see that once we connect it to the remote application, the application started and pauses at our breakpoint. So now let's see what's wrong. In variables view, and we can see that data is really empty, line is empty, and file is, oops, there is friendbook error. So now we have to find out what has changed that we are using this error file. So in the debug view, just jump. We are not jumping, we are just switching to the context of the frame. And see, here we expect friendbook OK file. So let's display what's in this. And we can see that the error file was set by our system property. Now we have to find out what changes the system property, and because we are running the test or running the application from Maven, so probably Maven is setting the system property. So stop it. And let's have a look on our POM file. And here it is. We accidentally set the wrong testing file. So we can fix it. And run again, Maven clean, verify, and it should be okay now. Cool. Now our application and tests are fixed and everything is working. And I would like to mention that there are two projects, Friendbook with all fixes. There are much more tests, and of course there is a JCOCO, which is a code coverage. So if you want, you can have a look how such project looks like. And from my side, it's all. And my last message to you is play with your IDE to find what kind of debugging features provides. it will really save your time in the future. And if you are interested more in debugging Eclipse IDE, here are some sites you can visit, and there are also something more, and something is described in a more detailed way, so please have a look at it. Any questions? If no, thank you for your attention and enjoy debugging.
Thank you for your attendance, and I would like to just share that you can make a feedback. So here the feedback is available for each session.
A prosím vás, a môžeme potom aj nejak sa pozrieť na ten môj feedback, alebo či to je iba pre organizátorov?
Je to pro organizátora, já si myslím, že asi jo, že to vlastně bude vám k dispozici taky. Jo, jako přednášející, předpokládám. To přepíšu tady asi hezčí, že hrozně hrabu.
Za ty lightning talky se že to je to
Je to před D105, to je
na začátku.
To je vlastně na začátku, když vlastně jdete sem do areálu, tak je to vlastně vpravo, je to tady tady. Ano, my jsme tady. Tak buď se dá projít přes dvůr sem, anebo se dá takhle tudy a po schodech.
Vy dva neodchádzajte.
A tam
S vámi chcem niečo poriešiť.
Tabule.
to bude jasné.
No, od vás môžem dostať hneď feedback.
A potom to bude někdy na webe?
Že?
Já si myslím, že to je na té tabule.
Taký.
To teda nevím.
No a však to určite aj ideálne. Tak mne sa zase nechcelo skúmať, vieš, jak to vyzerá. Ale pochybujem, že by tam takéto základné veci ako neboli. Ono sú to väčšinou také veci, ktoré sú dosť skryté ako pre ľudí. Vieš, že veľa ľudia som tiež napríklad. No práve, že ono je to tam schované a pokiaľ to človek nenájde, a pritom je to super vec, že môžeš si púšťať čo len chceš. No to je zatrest takedy. Proste. Idete ešte na niečo?
Ešte poviem na nejaké tokerizing, JBoss products. To nič bude teba. Mal byť wait spásne.
Ste tu od rána?
Od príslušenca.
je problém, že spousta věcí trikujou. Máš spoustu chytrých lidí, kteří nechcou dělat čárny a chce prostě vymyslet jako vymyslet základ. To je na to nejlepší. To většinou si dělá se to zařízlo úplně, že byste neměli na to vůbec čas. Neměli žádný prostor. Nebude z nich ke zdi a
to je finál? No, jestli mi tady dal k dispozici, ale
to malá byl.
No, ne každý chce mít tak polopený čas. Jsem se koukal, že je to tak jako 30% těch na polopený časy a zbytek má volno.
já mám tam sice ale jsem dělal třeba to po konzervativní.
Tady vlastně budu nadefinovat, který ty bugy jsou pro mě důležitý. Já se tam hodím, že je důležitý pro mě věci, co mají se komunity. A vlastně já můžu svým týmu nastavit tadyhle, co je momentálně pro mě priorita. Jakože tadyhle jsem tady tým, tam přidat prostě, že momentálně pracuji, momentálně jsou věci, co jsou tady na tomhle vím, se to zobrazí, jako i grafik,
Se mě zajímá, že jako momentálně v tom
plus další věc, ty si nastavíš roli. A tady ti to vlastně ukazuje schedule pro tvůj roli. Takže vidíš, že to takže jako, víš, na to, že na tom dělá jeden člověk ještě do toho jako víc lidí na to, aby měl ten místní vývoj. No, právě jako snažím se vždycky lidi přesvědčit, ať se na tom trošku víc podílejí, když mají nějaký čas. Ale někteří jo, že ať už mu pro boha žádný cečkaře neberu, že taky potřebuje.
Tam nesvítí fotosadu. A to vidí. Tak to nechám. Ideální video, kdyby se to hýbalo.
Zapnout tam šestřič, no.
Pak se ho nezbaví.
No. My jsme měli instrukce tam dávat právě to logo toho deštu, ale jako zkáku, že to vypaluje
pro ty lidi, kteří to tady znají. Kolik to je? 14 10 že jo?
Myslím, že ve Já jsem takhle spal. Jo.
Osmičku už mám, to se ani moc nemá. A naštěstí mě tak jsou skvělý škola. Já bych se vám pokud je dělo, pokud je neulomil. Ale
Jsem zatím přišel v lednu a jako na té straně myslím si, že jsou vůbec nějaký otázky.
osmičky nemají cenu vůbec si zachraňovat nevěla. To jsou zuby, které nemají slovinu pořádnou.
Aby to bylo
Na hledišti vzpomene, že porostou 25. Zjistili hotový, takže to bude jak včera. A dnes to si nevyříznal. To je zub, který nemá žádnou trvání.
to je druhý polovině.
No, už máme zaplatit.
Tak zítra jdu taky jak večera.
Myslím, že úplně včera někdy odpoledne.
A otázka, kolik lidí ještě zítra přijde. Asi to vždycky bývá nejvíc lidí. A tak ještě někteří lidi jsou v práci, říkají si, půjdu až v sobotu a v sobotu přijdou všichni a v neděli zase přijdou jenom ti, co přežijou v pohodě, že ty sobotní.
A nebo ty díky tomu nemají podat.
No a právě to neděli vyzvat z lidí. Ty to nemá. Nás bojí.
Jo, Windows. Zase zpátky. Tady.
Byla by frajeřina, kdyby tam člověk měl právě takhle ty Windows a potom to jako vlastně minimalizoval a bylo by se to, jako to byla bitmapa nebo nějaký obrázek Gimpu. Čau.
Tady máš připojení na obrazovku. Tady je síť. Šály.
Ty jsou nalepený na mnoha místech.
Potřebuješ nějak lidem dávat flašky nebo
Vůbec.
Nemáš tam nic, jako co by bylo velkýho, třeba stahoval jsem tady.
No, kdyby fungoval internet, tak by to bylo fakt fajn, ale jakože to celkem.
Internet funguje, akorát pokud budeš stahovat něco většího, tak to není úplně dobrý.
Uvidíme, no, mám tam i nějaký statický test, nejhorší tak.
Budeš vidět přestávku nebo bez přestávky?
Jo, tady není moc lidí, takže to bude hodně zajímat, jako, bude to záležet, jak bude zajímat, jestli to bude nějaký interaktivní čas, protože to, co jim jako řeknu, to bude tak do půl hodiny hotové a pak bude záležet, jestli prostě se budou do toho chtít vrhnout, asi ne, tak to ani bude třeba přestávka, jestli prostě. A spíš.
Dobře, jak se pak řekne.
Jo.
Aby se to nezvedlo ve plane mezi OpenStack packagingem a platform packagingem.
Tak.
Já klidně můžu.
Jestli to ještě přepnu, tak řekni. No, na plán.
Yes. Kdyby se tady hodila židle, já budu hodit. Oh yeah, okay, I will put it to my presentation actually. Right now. Right now. Oh, this is a funny resolution. Okay. Jo, mám slidy. A chtěl jsem je